The failed missions. The fluorescent lights in the meeting room cast harsh shadows across Commander Yuna's silver-scaled face. She had read the same reports dozens of times, but the words never got easier to digest. Mission status, failed. Crew status, missing. Threat level, maximum. Around the oval table sat representatives from 7 different species, each in chairs designed for their unique anatomies. The Zenthri with their 4 arms, the gaseous Valens in their containment suits, the tree-like Sylvans with their root feet extended, all bore the same expression of grim concern. Below them, the planet Kepler 442b spun peacefully in the viewports. It should have been perfect, lush forests, clean water, breathable atmosphere. An ideal candidate for their new colony. Instead, it had become a graveyard. Let me summarize what we know, Yuna began, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. 3 months ago, we deployed the Xenurans. The holographic display showed 5 tall, gray beings with enlarged craniums and multiple sensory organs. Their equipment was legendary, sensors that could detect a heartbeat through solid rock, scanners that mapped molecular structures in real time. The Xenurans lasted exactly 48 hours. Heat signatures vanished. Equipment went silent. Recovery teams found pieces. A low chittering sound came from the insectoid representative. Yuna nodded grimly and continued. Next, we sent the Void Walkers. The display shifted to show humanoid figures that seemed to bend light around them. Phase shift technology, quantum camouflage, the ability to exist partially outside normal spacetime. The best infiltrators in known space. She paused, gathering herself. They lasted 4 days. We recovered fragments of their tech, nothing more. The room fell silent. Everyone knew the reputation of the Void Walkers. If something could detect and eliminate them, they were dealing with a threat beyond conventional understanding. Finally, last month, we deployed a computational intelligence. The display showed sleek, metallic forms with glowing neural networks. They processed every variable, weather patterns, geological data, biological signatures. They built the perfect strategy. Yuna's voice dropped to almost a whisper. The Shadow Maw was waiting for them. The Sylvan representative spoke, his voice like wind through leaves. What does this entity want? Unknown. It eliminates all intruders but shows no interest in consumption or territory expansion. It simply removes threats. The red-skinned Korthak delegation leader bared his rows of teeth. Why not orbital bombardment? Because this planet represents the future of our alliance. We cannot abandon it based on a single obstacle. Yuna stood, her warrior's pride evident. But we also cannot continue sacrificing our best people. The debate continued for hours, cycling through the same impossible questions. How do you defeat something that had outmaneuvered their finest scouts, eliminated their most advanced spies, and predicted their smartest strategists? The answer walked through the door carrying a coffee cup. Sorry I'm late. The human liaison, Jivan, settled into his chair with characteristic casualness. Coffee machines acting up again. Several species made sounds of disapproval as he propped his feet on the conference table. Humans had such strange customs. So, what's the situation? Jivan asked, sipping his drink. Yuna stared at him. Humans were paradoxical, neither the strongest nor the smartest species, lacking advanced technology or natural weapons. Yet somehow, they consistently survived scenarios that eliminated others. We need someone to make contact with the Shadow Maw, she said carefully. Jivan nodded thoughtfully. The big scary thing in the forest. Yeah, I heard about that. He took another sip. Sounds interesting. The Korthak representative's eyes widened. It has eliminated 15 trained professionals. Jivan mused. Did anyone try talking to it? The silence that followed was deafening. Several species exchanged glances of pure bewilderment. Talking? Yuna repeated slowly. Well, yeah. I mean, something that's smart, something that can outsmart Zanuran sensors and catch void walkers, that's not just an animal. That's a person. The insectoid's translator buzzed with confusion. Scans detected no higher brain function. Jivan laughed. Your scans probably couldn't detect human brain function either. Different types of intelligence, you know. Yuna felt the familiar human-induced headache beginning. They always did this, took impossible situations and made them sound simple, looked at deadly threats and saw opportunities for friendship. So you'll take the mission? She asked. Jivan grinned, his white teeth gleaming. Sure thing, boss dad. Sounds like fun. The entire room stared at him. Yuna, a decorated military commander who had led fleets through 3 wars, had just been called boss dad by a human drinking coffee. But that was how humans worked. They made everyone family. When do I leave? Jivan asked, already pulling out his tablet to make notes. Tomorrow morning, Yuna replied, still processing the casual acceptance of what amounted to a suicide mission. Are you certain about this? Absolutely. I've got camping gear, and I stopped by the kitchen. Cook made some extra steaks. Figured I might need them. For yourself? The Sylvan asked. Jivan winked. Maybe. Or maybe for making new friends. As the meeting dispersed, Yuna remained in her chair, watching the human hum some melody as he walked away. He looked like he was planning a vacation, not entering the territory of a creature that had killed their best soldiers. She hoped she wasn't sending him to his death. But with humans, you never really knew what would happen. They had a way of turning the impossible into the inevitable. Maybe that was exactly what this mission needed. Into the unknown. The transport shuttle rattled through Kepler 442b's atmosphere like a tin can in a windstorm. Jivan sat in the cargo hold, surrounded by his equipment, 1 backpack, a sleeping bag, basic rations, and a simple comm unit. That was it. The pilot, a nervous 4-eyed Zanuran named Kimmo, kept glancing back with undisguised worry. Are you absolutely certain about this? He asked for the 10th time. I can abort the landing. No one would blame you. Jivan was busy organizing his pack, pulling out a package of jerky with obvious satisfaction. Nah, I'm good. This is going to be interesting. Interesting? Kimmo's voice cracked. The last team I transported never made it back to the extraction point. We found their equipment scattered across 3 kilometers of forest floor. Different team, different approach, Jivan said with characteristic ease. Through the viewport, the planet revealed its beauty. Crimson-barked trees stretched across rolling hills, azure rivers carved through emerald valleys, and twin suns painted the purple sky in breathtaking hues. It looked like paradise. But Jivan knew something lethal lurked in those pristine forests. Something that had effortlessly dispatched 15 of the galaxy's elite operatives. The thought didn't worry him, it excited him. The shuttle touched down in a clearing at the forest's edge. Kimmo popped the hatch but remained firmly in his pilot's seat. 12-hour check-ins, Kimmo reminded him. If you don't respond to 3 consecutive calls, I'm coming after you. Thanks, buddy. Jivan shouldered his pack and hopped down. See you around. The shuttle lifted off quickly, leaving him alone. Jivan stood in the clearing, breathing deeply. The air carried scents of exotic flowers and recent rainfall. Somewhere in the canopy, creatures made sounds like crystalline wind chimes. Nice place, he murmured to himself. Then he turned toward the dark forest. Okay, big guy. I'm here. Hope you're ready to meet me. The forest edge told a story written in disturbed earth and broken vegetation. The previous expedition teams had left clear signs, boot prints in the soft soil, equipment marks on tree bark, broken branches where people had run in panic. But there were other tracks too. Jivan whistled softly when he found the first one. The footprint in the damp earth was enormous, easily the size of a dinner plate, with 6 distinct toes ending in curved claws. The depth told him whatever made it was incredibly heavy, and the claw marks suggested significant strength. "Well, hello there," he said to the print, as if greeting an old friend. "You must be who I'm here to see." He photographed the track, took measurements, then followed the trail deeper into the forest. The trees here were ancient giants, their crimson bark rough against his palms, their canopy so dense that only fragments of purple sky filtered through. The forest floor was cushioned with decades of fallen leaves and moss. More tracks appeared, some clear, others just disturbances in the undergrowth. Then Jivan found the claw marks on a massive tree trunk. 8 feet high, gouged deep into the wood with tremendous force. "Impressive," he said, running his fingers along the grooves. "You've been busy, haven't you?" As evening approached, Jivan set up camp beside a bubbling stream. The water ran clear and cold, with fish like swimming ribbons of silver darting through the current. He filled his bottles, started a small fire, and began cooking dinner. The aroma of grilled meat filled the forest air. Jivan had packed extra, just as he'd told Commander Yuna. "I know you're out there," he called into the darkening woods. "Brought enough for 2 if you get hungry." Back on the space station, 3 figures monitored his vital signs on a bank of screens. Commander Yuna sat beside Dr. Hannah, the station's chief medical officer, another human, but far more serious than Jivan. "Heart rate completely normal," Hannah reported, checking her instruments. "Blood pressure stable. No stress indicators whatsoever." "How is that possible?" Yuna asked. The other teams showed elevated stress before they even landed. The third observer, Lieutenant Vex of the Korthak military, snorted derisively. "Because he's an idiot. He doesn't understand the danger." Dr. Hannah shook her head. "That's not it. Look at his movement patterns, his methodical documentation of the tracks. He understands exactly what he's facing. He's just not afraid of it." On screen, they watched Jivan finish his meal and bank his fire. He settled into his sleeping bag with the casual ease of someone camping in a safe forest, not the territory of an apex predator. "This is either brilliant or suicidal," Yuna muttered. "With humans," Dr. Hannah observed, "it's often both." In the forest, Jivan lay on his back, looking up through the canopy at alien constellations. The night sounds were beautiful, a symphony of chirps, whistles, and distant calls that spoke of a world teeming with life. He wasn't naive about the danger. The evidence was clear: 15 skilled professionals had died here, eliminated by something intelligent and powerful. But fear wouldn't help him understand what had happened. Curiosity might. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said quietly to the darkness. "Just want to talk. Figure out what you need." Something moved in the shadows beyond his firelight. A branch creaked under significant weight. Jivan didn't tense or reach for a weapon, he didn't carry any. Instead, he rolled onto his side, still relaxed. "Take your time," he said. "I'll be here when you're ready." The forest grew quiet, as if every creature was holding its breath. In that silence, Jivan drifted off to sleep, completely unaware that glowing eyes were watching him from the darkness, trying to understand this strange new visitor who brought food and spoke with kindness instead of arriving with weapons and fear. First contact. Jivan woke to the sound of something large moving through the underbrush. Instead of panic, he felt a surge of excitement. He sat up slowly, making no sudden movements, and looked around his camp. His backpack had been moved. Not ransacked or destroyed, just repositioned, as if someone had carefully examined it and set it down elsewhere. The remains of his dinner were gone, but his cooking pot had been cleaned and placed neatly beside the stream. "Well, that's interesting," he murmured. "Thanks for cleaning up." More tracks surrounded his campsite, the same massive 6-toed prints, but these were different. They circled his sleeping area at a respectful distance, never coming too close. It was the behavior of something cautious, curious, but not aggressive. Jivan prepared breakfast, again making extra. He set a portion on a flat rock near the tree line and called out, "Breakfast is ready if you want some." As he ate, he studied the new tracks. The pattern told a story. The creature had approached during the night, investigated his belongings, and maintained a careful perimeter. It was intelligent behavior, not the mindless aggression of a predator. His comm unit crackled. "Jivan, this is Kimo. First check-in. Status report." "All good up here," Jivan replied cheerfully. "Made contact with our friend." "Well, sort of." On the space station, Yuna nearly dropped her coffee. "What do you mean, sort of?" "Left some tracks around my camp. Cleaned my dishes, if you can believe that. Very polite houseguest." Lieutenant Vex leaned into the comm. "Cleaned your dishes?" "It's a deadly predator, not a butler." "Maybe," Jivan said, "but it's definitely trying to communicate. The tracks show deliberate patterns, not random movement. And it had plenty of opportunities to attack while I was sleeping but didn't." Dr. Hanna pulled up behavioral analysis charts. "This doesn't match any predator profile. Predators don't clean up after potential prey." Jivan spent the morning following the tracks deeper into the forest, documenting everything. The creature's path was purposeful, avoiding certain areas while frequenting others. It used regular routes, like forest highways, and seemed to prefer areas near water sources. "You're not just surviving here," Jivan said to the forest. "You're living here. This is your home." Around midday, he found something that made him stop completely. In a small clearing stood what could only be described as a shelter, not a cave or hollow tree, but a constructed dwelling. Branches had been carefully woven together, large leaves arranged to shed rain, and stones positioned to create a fire pit. "Now we're getting somewhere," Jivan whispered. The structure was enormous, built to accommodate something much larger than a human. But it was undeniably intelligent construction, showing planning and engineering skill. Jivan approached slowly, hands visible. "Hello. I'm here to talk. I'm not armed, not a threat." Silence. He sat down at the edge of the clearing, unpacked his lunch, and began eating. "I brought sandwiches. Turkey and cheese. Not sure if you eat meat, but I've got some fruit too." Still nothing. "The thing is," Jivan continued conversationally, "I think there's been a misunderstanding. The people who came before, they were soldiers and scientists. They came with weapons and scanners and all sorts of intimidating equipment. That would make anyone defensive." A branch snapped behind him. Jivan didn't turn around. "I get it," he said. "Strangers show up with weapons, you protect yourself. But I'm not here to hurt you or take your home. I just want to understand what you need." Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, getting closer. Jivan's heart rate spiked, but he kept his voice calm. "I'm going to keep talking and not turn around, okay? Don't want to spook you." The footsteps stopped just behind him. Jivan could feel a presence, massive and breathing. The air stirred with movement. "My name is Jivan. I work with the people on the space station up there. We're explorers, looking for new places to live. But we don't want to take homes that already belong to someone." A low sound, almost like a rumble. Not aggressive, more like curiosity. "That's right, you live here. This is your place. We should have asked first, shouldn't we?" The presence moved around him, staying just out of his peripheral vision. Jivan maintained his position, hands relaxed, voice steady. "The people who came before, did they ask permission? Did they try to talk to you?" A different sound now, almost like a sigh. Heavy and sad. "No, they didn't. They just assumed you were dangerous because you're big and strong. That wasn't fair." Slowly, carefully, something moved into his field of vision. A massive hand, covered in dark fur, with 6 fingers ending in curved claws. It reached toward the sandwich he'd set down. Go ahead, Jivan said softly. It's for you. The hand picked up the sandwich with surprising delicacy, examined it, then retreated. Jivan heard careful chewing sounds. Good. A low rumble that might have been approval. I've got more. And I brought some cooked meat from last night. Thought you might be hungry. The creature moved fully into view, and Jivan had to work to keep his expression neutral. It was enormous, easily 9 feet tall, covered in dark fur with patches of silver. Its face was intelligent, with large golden eyes and a mouth that seemed designed for both hunting and speaking. It sat down across from him, mirroring his posture. Wow, Jivan breathed. You're magnificent. The creature tilted its head, studying him with obvious intelligence. Do you understand me? Can you speak? For a long moment, nothing. Then, in a voice like distant thunder, why, no weapons. Jivan's breath caught. Because I'm not here to fight. I'm here to meet you. Others came with weapons. With hurting light. I know. I'm sorry about that. They were afraid because they didn't understand. The creature leaned forward. You, not afraid? Jivan smiled. I'm terrified. But I'm also curious. Fear doesn't help me understand you. The golden eyes studied him for a long moment. Then, something that might have been a smile crossed the creature's face. Curious, good. I am curious too. Understanding. What should I call you? Jivan asked, settling more comfortably on the ground. The creature considered this, its golden eyes thoughtful. The small sky voices call me Shadow Maw. But I am Kethvar. It means one who guards the growing places. Kethvar, Jivan repeated carefully. That's a beautiful name. I'm Jivan. Jiwan, Kethvar tested the sounds. What does it mean? It means soul of compassion, in my language. My parents hoped I'd be kind to others. Kethvar made a sound that might have been approval. Good name. Good, hope. They spent the afternoon sharing food and words. Kethvar's speech was careful but clear, revealing an intelligence that had been studying the various alien visitors for months. The gray ones with many eyes, Kethvar explained, they came with seeing through walls machines. They looked into my home, into my private places. This was wrong. I agree, Jivan said. That was invasive. They should have asked permission. Then came the shadow dancers. They walked through walls, through my home. Like spirits who steal. I had to make them go away. The void walkers, Jivan realized. You could see them even when they were invisible. Kethvar touched his large eyes. Different seeing. I see heat, movement, heart fear. Shadow dancers had much heart fear. Made them bright to me. The pattern was becoming clear. Each military team had approached with their advanced technology and aggressive postures, triggering Kethvar's defensive instincts. And the mechanical ones? The thinking metal ones made plans. Many plans. All about how to catch me, study me, cage me. Kethvar's voice grew sad. They thought I was animal thing. Not person. But you eliminated them before they could carry out their plans. I tried to make them go away. Like others. But thinking metal ones, they did not go away. They fought. So I. Kethvar looked down at his large hands. I had to stop them. Forever. You were protecting yourself. Protecting your home. Yes. But also. Kethvar gestured around the forest. All the small life here. The growing things. The flying singers. If sky people come with hurting machines, all life suffers. Jivan began to understand. You're not just living here. You're the guardian of this ecosystem. Yes. You understand. Kethvar leaned forward eagerly. My people, we were chosen ones. To protect growing places from harmbringers. Were. Past tense. Kethvar's expression grew mournful. Others of my kind, gone. Long ago. Star sickness came, took them to forever sleep. I am, last one. I'm so sorry. Jivan felt genuine sadness for this lonely guardian. You've been alone all this time. Alone, yes. But not empty-hearted. The growing place gives purpose. The small life gives joy. Kethvar looked at Jivan hopefully. And now, maybe friend gives understanding. Yes, Jivan said firmly. Definitely a friend. They talked until sunset, sharing stories and perspectives. Kethvar described his daily routines, tending to injured animals, managing plant growth, protecting the forest from natural disasters. He was not a predator but a caretaker, albeit one capable of deadly force when threatened. The Sky People, Kethvar asked, they want to live here? Some do. But there are many Sky People, and they need many places to live. They don't all have to live here. If they came, peacefully. Asked permission. Promised not to hurt the growing. Jivan's heart raced. You'd consider sharing your world? Lonely is hard. And some Sky People might help the growing. Learn to be guardians too. I think some would love that opportunity. As night fell, Kethvar invited Jivan to his dwelling. Inside, it was surprisingly comfortable, woven mats on the floor, carved wooden bowls, even some primitive artwork depicting the forest in different seasons. You made all this? Yes. Hands need work. Mind needs creating. Jivan's calm unit chirped. Kimo's voice crackled through, evening check-in. Status report. Better than expected, Jivan replied. I'm having dinner with a friend. On the space station, the command team clustered around the communication array. A friend? Yuna asked sharply. Clarify immediately. His name is Kethvar. He's the last of his people, and he's been protecting this forest for, how long? Jivan looked at his host. Many season cycles. Perhaps what you call centuries. The calm line went silent. Finally, Dr. Hannah spoke. Jivan, are you saying that a shadow maw is a sentient being? Very sentient. And very lonely. He never wanted to hurt anyone, he was just defending his home from what he saw as invaders. He killed our people, Lieutenant Vex growled. Kethvar heard this through the calm and moved closer. I am sorry for the forever sleep I caused. But they came with weapons and fear. I thought they came to hurt the growing. The silence stretched longer this time. Commander Yuna. Jivan prompted. Kethvar would like to discuss terms for cohabitation. Cohabitation. He's willing to share his world, under certain conditions. He wants to meet with you, officially, diplomatically. Kethvar nodded. If Sky People can promise to protect the growing, we can share the space. My God, Dr. Hannah whispered. We've stumbled onto a first contact situation. Not stumbled, Jivan corrected. Walked into it with open hands and an open mind. Kethvar, would you like to visit the space station? Meet with the various species representatives. Kethvar's eyes widened. Visit the Sky Place. See the many different peoples. If you want to. We can arrange safe transport, diplomatic immunity, the full protocol. Yes, Kethvar said, his voice filled with wonder. Yes, I would, like this very much. As they settled in for the night, Jivan couldn't help but smile. Tomorrow, he would return to the station not as a failed mission, but as the architect of humanity's most significant first contact event. And it had all started with a sandwich and the simple question, did anyone try talking to it? A new beginning. The transport shuttle that landed in Kethvar's clearing was much larger than the one that had brought Jivan 2 days earlier. This one was designed for diplomatic missions, with comfortable seating for various alien anatomies and advanced life support systems. Kethvar stood at the forest edge, magnificent in the morning light. He had spent hours grooming his fur and had even woven some colorful flowers into what Jivan now recognized as a ceremonial gesture. Nervous? Jivan asked. Yes. But, good nervous. Like before, important hunt. Kethvar looked up at the sky where the space station gleamed like a star. Will they accept me? They'd be crazy not to. You're offering them paradise, they just have to earn it. The shuttle's ramp lowered, revealing not just Kimmo but a full diplomatic crew. Commander Yuna descended first, her military bearing formal but respectful. Behind her came Dr. Hannah, several species representatives, and even a cultural attaché. Kethvar straightened to his full 9-foot height. Despite his size, he moved with careful grace as he approached the delegation. Commander Yuna, Jivan said, I'd like you to meet Kethvar, guardian of the growing places and the last of his people. Yuna stepped forward, hands visible and empty. Kethvar, I am Commander Yuna of the Galactic Alliance. We owe you an apology for the actions of our previous teams. Kethvar inclined his massive head. Commander Yuna. Your people acted from fear and not understanding. This I forgive. But we must speak of how to live together. The flight to the space station was a revelation for everyone involved. Kethvar pressed his face to the viewports, marveling at the sight of space, at the station itself, at the vast complexity of the galaxy his forest world was part of. So many, sky peoples, he whispered in wonder. So many, different thinkings. Just wait until you meet them all, Jivan grinned. The station's main conference room had been hastily reconfigured to accommodate Kethvar's size. A specially constructed chair awaited him, and the environmental controls had been adjusted to forest-like humidity and temperature. The same representatives who had attended the mission briefing were present, but their attitudes had completely transformed. The being they had feared as a monster sat before them with dignified composure, speaking of cooperation and guardianship. The growing place needs careful tending, Kethvar explained to the assembled delegates. Your peoples could learn this, tending knowledge. In return, the growing place gives home space for many. The Sylvan representative leaned forward, his tree-like form rustling with excitement. You speak of ecological management. Our people have similar philosophies. Yes. Tree people understand root wisdom. We could share knowledge. Dr. Hannah pulled up holographic displays of the planet. Kethvar, the biodiversity readings we've taken suggest this world could support several million colonists if managed properly. You're saying you'd help us learn sustainable integration? If sky peoples promise to protect not destroy, yes. But Kethvar looked around the room seriously. Some places must stay, only for growing. Sacred spaces where small life can be safe always. Completely reasonable, Yuna said. We can establish protected reserves, areas off-limits to development. The negotiations continued for hours, but they were negotiations of cooperation, not conquest. Kethvar proved to have an intuitive understanding of complex ecological relationships, while the various species offered technologies and knowledge that could benefit both colonists and native ecosystems. The Zanurans offered scanning technology that could monitor environmental health without invasive procedures. The Void Walkers suggested stealth techniques for wildlife observation that wouldn't disturb natural behaviors. Even the computational intelligences contributed models for sustainable city planning. There's one more thing, Jivan said during a brief recess. He looked at Kethvar with a gentle smile. You mentioned you've been alone for centuries. That doesn't have to continue. Kethvar's golden eyes brightened with hope. You mean? I mean, if you want, I could stay. Help bridge the gap between your people's knowledge and ours. Learn to be a guardian myself. You would, leave Sky home to live in growing place. It's not leaving home, Jivan said. It's finding a new one. With a friend. Kethvar's joy was unmistakable. Yes. Yes, this would be, greatest gift. When the negotiations resumed, the final treaty was unlike anything in galactic history. The Kepler Accords, as they came to be known, established the first truly cooperative colonization agreement. The planet would be shared, with Kethvar serving as the guardian advisor to all settlement activities. Several species committed to sending not just colonists, but students, individuals who would learn the ancient arts of ecological stewardship. A new academy would be established, combining traditional guardian knowledge with advanced scientific techniques. And, Commander Yuna announced, effective immediately, Jivan Chen is appointed as the first human ambassador to the guardian nation of Kepler, 442b. Ambassador? Jivan looked surprised. I thought I was just going camping. Kethvar made the rumbling sound that Jivan had learned was laughter. Camping with purpose. Very human thing to do. The formal signing ceremony took place in the station's main observatory, with Kepler 442b visible through the transparent aluminum walls. Representatives from 7 species signed the accords, but the moment everyone would remember came when Kethvar carefully pressed his massive handprint beside the signatures. Thank you, Jiwan, he said quietly. For seeing, person, not monster. Thank you, Kethvar, for trusting a stranger who showed up with sandwiches. As the ceremony concluded and the various delegations prepared to depart, Dr. Hanna approached Jivan. You realize what you've accomplished here? This isn't just first contact, it's a completely new model for interspecies cooperation. I just talked to him, Jivan shrugged. Amazing what you can learn when you listen. Commander Yuna joined them, her expression thoughtful. The military strategists are calling it the human approach, diplomacy through genuine curiosity rather than displays of strength. Sounds about right, Jivan laughed. Though I think Kethvar deserves most of the credit. He's the one who chose trust over fear. 3 months later, the first official settlement ships arrived at Kepler 442b. They landed not as conquerors, but as invited guests. Kethvar greeted each transport personally, welcoming the newcomers to his world. The colonists found a planet transformed by cooperation. Human engineers worked alongside Sylvan botanists to design cities that grew with the forest rather than replacing it. Xenuran sensors monitored ecosystem health in real time, while Void Walker scouts mapped migration patterns without disturbing the wildlife. Jivan established his new home in a cabin built near Kethvar's dwelling, close enough for daily conversations but far enough to give the ancient guardian his space. Every morning, they would walk the forest paths together, with Kethvar teaching the subtle arts of reading the land's needs. You are, good student, Kethvar observed one morning as they watched a family of the local silver ribbon fish spawning in a crystal stream. I have a good teacher, Jivan replied. Though I think you're enjoying having company more than you expected. Yes. Loneliness was harder than I admitted. But now. Kethvar gestured at the thriving settlement visible through the trees, where multiple species work together in harmony. Now there is family. Speaking of family, Jivan grinned, the children from the settlement want to meet you. They've been asking about the big forest friend their parents talk about. Kethvar's eyes lit up. Small ones. They wish to learn guardian ways. They want to learn everything. Fair warning though, human children ask a lot of questions. Good, Kethvar rumbled with amusement. Questions mean, thinking minds. Thinking minds can learn to protect the growing. As they walked back toward the settlement, Jivan reflected on how dramatically everything had changed. The planet that had been deemed too dangerous for colonization was now becoming a model for sustainable development. The creature that had terrorized military teams was now beloved by children who called him Uncle Keth, and brought him drawings of the forest. You know, Jivan said, Commander Yuna still doesn't understand how I knew it would work out. What did you tell her? That sometimes the best way to solve a problem is to make a friend. Kethvar stopped walking and looked at his human companion with deep affection. And sometimes, the best way to end loneliness is to say, "Thanks, Boss Dad." They both laughed, the sound echoing through the forest where two species had learned that the greatest strength wasn't in weapons or technology, but in the simple courage to extend trust to a stranger. The settlement grew, the forest thrived, and somewhere in the galaxy, other species began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, the humans had been right all along. Sometimes the answer to an impossible problem was as simple as sharing a meal and asking, "What do you need?" In the end, it wasn't superior firepower or advanced technology that had conquered the Shadow Maw. It was a human with a backpack full of sandwiches and the radical idea that enemies might just be friends who hadn't been properly introduced. The stars looked down on Kepler 442b, where the last guardian of the growing places was no longer alone, and where the first truly cooperative colony in galactic history was learning that home wasn't a place you took, it was a place you were invited to share. The end.